For 7 years I thought I knew what marriage meant. I thought it meant having someone in your corner no matter what. My wife, Megan, and I had built something I was proud of. We had a little house in Austin, 2 cars, and a joint savings account with $47,000. Our emergency fund. Our safety net for whatever life might throw at us. I never imagined the person who would steal that safety net was sleeping right next to me every night. Before I tell you how I ended up filing for divorce from a hospital bed, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your city or country in the comments below. If you have ever trusted someone who did not deserve it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And please stick around until the end of this story. Because what my wife told me when I needed surgery, those words still echo in my head every single day. Now let me take you back to where it all began. My name is Philip. I am 34 years old and I work as a software engineer for a tech company here in Austin, Texas. I met Megan at a mutual friend's barbecue about 9 years ago. She had this warm smile that made me feel like I had known her my whole life. We dated for 2 years, got married, and I genuinely believed we were building a future together. Our life seemed stable, comfortable, safe. But there was always one thing I tried to ignore. Megan had this unwavering loyalty to her family, especially to her younger sister Brittany. And I mean unwavering to the point where I sometimes wondered where I fit in. Brittany was the baby of the family, the one who always got what she wanted. Megan would drop everything for her anytime, anywhere. I told myself it was just family love. I told myself I was being too sensitive. I had no idea that loyalty would one day cost me everything, including my health. Let me tell you about Brittany. She was 28 years old, the youngest in her family, and she had been spoiled her entire life. I am not saying that to be cruel. It is simply the truth. Her parents gave her everything she ever asked for. New car at 16. College paid in full. An apartment after graduation. Brittany grew up believing the world revolved around her, and honestly, no one in her family ever corrected that belief. She had a habit of comparing herself to everyone around her, always needing to have the best, the biggest, the most expensive. And Megan, bless her heart, always defended her sister. She would say things like, "She is just young, she will grow out of it." Brittany was 28. She was not going to grow out of anything. About 8 months ago, Brittany got engaged to a guy named Derek. His family had money, old Texas oil money, and Brittany wasted no time telling everyone about her upcoming dream wedding. She wanted the whole thing at a resort in Hill Country, designer dress, imported flowers, a live band, the works. She threw around numbers like $60,000, $70,000 like it was nothing. There was just one problem. Derek's family refused to pay for the wedding. They had this old-fashioned belief that the bride's side should cover the costs. And Brittany's parents. They were good people, but they did not have that kind of money. Not even close. That is when Brittany started putting pressure on Megan. At first it was subtle, phone calls that lasted hours, texts at all times of the day and night. Then Megan started spending every weekend at Brittany's place helping with wedding planning. She would come home exhausted, talking about seating charts and flower arrangements. I felt like I was losing my wife to a wedding that was not even ours. But I kept my mouth shut. I figured it would all be over soon enough. A wedding only happens once, right? What I did not notice were the secret phone calls, the way Megan would hang up quickly when I walked into the room, the way she started guarding her phone like it held state secrets. I should have paid more attention, but I was dealing with something else, something I could not ignore. About 3 months before Brittany's wedding, I started having these pains in my upper right abdomen. At first, I blamed it on stress and bad eating habits. My job had been demanding, and I had been living on fast food and coffee. But the pain kept getting worse. It would hit me after meals, this sharp, stabbing sensation that made me want to double over. Some nights I could not sleep at all. I would just lie there, sweating, waiting for the pain to pass. Finally, I made an appointment with my doctor. She referred me to a specialist, a gastroenterologist named Dr. Harrison. After running some tests, an ultrasound and a CT scan, he sat me down with a serious expression on his face. I had gallstones. Bad ones. My gallbladder was inflamed, and if I did not get it removed within 4 to 6 weeks, I was looking at some serious complications. We are talking about a ruptured gallbladder sepsis, potentially life-threatening stuff. I sat in that office feeling like the ground had shifted beneath me. Surgery. I needed surgery. Dr. Harrison explained the costs. Even with my insurance through work, I was looking at $18,000 to $22,000 out of pocket. Hospital stay, surgery medication, follow-up appointments. It all added up fast. But driving home that day, I felt something I had not expected. Relief, because Megan and I had planned for exactly this kind of situation. For 6 years, we had been putting money into our emergency fund. Every month, without fail, we had $47,000 sitting in that account. $47,000 that we had promised each other would only be touched in a real emergency. Job loss, major illness, unexpected disaster. This was exactly what that money was for. I thought to myself, we are going to be okay. That night I came home wanting to talk to Megan about scheduling the surgery. But she was not there. She had left a note on the kitchen counter. At Brittany's helping with seating arrangements. Do not wait up. I sat alone in the living room, the house quiet around me. I decided to check our savings account online just to see the numbers to reassure myself that everything would be fine. I logged into our banking app and navigated to the savings account. And then I saw it. The balance. $847.23. I blinked. I refreshed the page. $847.23. Over $46,000 had vanished. My hands were shaking as I pulled up the transaction history. $15,000 transferred to Brittany's account 6 weeks ago. $12,000 transferred to Brittany 4 weeks ago. $10,000 2 weeks ago. $9,500 just 5 days before. All of it authorized by Megan. All of it gone. I sat there for 3 hours staring at that screen. The physical pain in my gut was nothing compared to what I felt in my chest. My wife, the woman I had built a life with for 7 years, had just handed our entire safety net to her sister. And she did not even tell me. Megan came home close to midnight. She walked through the door with a smile on her face, chattering about how productive the evening had been. Brittany had finally decided on the centerpieces. The florist had given them a discount. Everything was coming together beautifully. I did not say anything at first. I just sat there in the dark living room waiting. When she finally noticed me, she stopped talking. I reached over and turned on the lamp. Care to explain this? I held up my phone, the banking app still open on the screen. Her face went pale for just a second. Then she recovered, putting on that calm expression I had seen so many times before. The one she used when she was about to justify something she knew was wrong. I was going to tell you, she started. Brittany needed help. Derek's family refused to pay for anything. It is her dream wedding, Philip. She is my baby sister. I could not just watch her suffer. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. That was our money, Megan. Our emergency fund. You did not even ask me. I knew you would say no. Of course I would say no. I have surgery scheduled. I need that money. Did you forget that I have been in pain for months? Did you forget what the doctor said? Megan let out this sigh like I was being unreasonable. Like I was the one causing problems. Philip, your surgery is not that urgent. The doctor said 4 to 6 weeks, right? You can wait a little longer. It is just gallstones. People live with that for years. I stared at her, unable to believe what I was hearing, and then she said the words that I will never forget, the words that changed everything. You can wait. It is her special day. I felt like I had been slapped. Did you just tell me to wait on surgery so your sister can have a fancy party? Do not be dramatic. I will figure out a way to pay you back. Brittany said she will return the money after the honeymoon. Family comes first, Philip. You should understand that. Family comes first. As if I was not her family. As if 7 years of marriage meant nothing compared to her sister's Instagram-worthy wedding. The days that followed were some of the darkest of my life. I tried everything I could think of to come up with the money for my surgery. I applied for personal loans, but my credit was not high enough for a quick approval. I looked into payment plans with the hospital, but they required an $8,000 deposit up front. I even considered selling my car, but it would not bring in enough fast enough. Meanwhile, my body was getting worse. The pain that used to come and go was now constant. I started running a low fever. Eating became a nightmare. Everything I put in my mouth triggered waves of agony. I was losing weight, losing sleep, losing my ability to focus at work. My manager pulled me aside one day and asked if everything was okay. I lied and said I was fine. And Megan, she acted like nothing was wrong. She was still spending every spare moment on Brittany's wedding. Still coming home late, still making plans, still talking about flower arrangements and guest lists like our entire world was not falling apart. Not once did she apologize for what she had done. Not once did she ask how I was feeling. 5 days before Brittany's wedding, I was home alone. Megan had practically moved into Brittany's apartment to help with last-minute preparations. I was lying on the couch trying to find a position that did not make me want to scream when the pain exploded. It was unlike anything I had ever felt before. It felt like someone had reached inside my body and was squeezing my organs with a hot fist. I was drenched in sweat. My whole body was shaking. I managed to grab my phone and dial 911 before I passed out. I woke up in the emergency room with Dr. Harrison standing over me. His face was grim. "Philip, your gallbladder is severely inflamed. We are looking at possible rupture. This is no longer elective surgery. We need to operate within 24 to 48 hours, or we are going to have a very serious problem." I lay there on that hospital bed, hooked up to machines pumped full of painkillers, and I called my wife. I told her what happened. I told her I needed emergency surgery. I told her I might die if something went wrong. Her response destroyed whatever was left of my heart. "Philip, I cannot come right now. The rehearsal dinner is tomorrow. Can your parents come instead? I am sure the hospital can work out a payment plan. I will try to visit after the wedding." "Okay, Megan, I might die. Do you understand that? Do not be so dramatic. People have gallbladder surgery all the time. You will be fine." And then she hung up. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, tears running down the sides of my face. Not from the physical pain, from the realization that I meant nothing to her. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of loving her, supporting her, building a life with her. And I was not worth missing a rehearsal dinner. I called my parents. My father Richard and my mother Sandra. I had been keeping the worst of it from them, not wanting to worry them. But that night alone in that hospital room, I told them everything. The money, the surgery, Megan's response, all of it. My father's voice was steady, but I could hear the anger underneath. "Son, do not you worry about the money. We will figure it out. Your mother and I are on our way." They drove 3 hours from Houston that night. By morning, they had transferred $20,000 from their retirement savings into the hospital account. $20,000 they had worked their entire lives for. Money they had saved for their golden years. They gave it to me without hesitation. As the nurses prepped me for surgery, I picked up my phone one last time. There was a notification from Instagram. I tapped it open. It was a story from Megan. She was at the rehearsal dinner, laughing, holding up a glass of champagne. The caption read, "Best sister ever. Tomorrow is the big day." The anesthesia started to pull me under. And in those final moments of consciousness, I made a decision. If I survived this surgery, things were going to change. Dramatically. I woke up to the sound of beeping machines and my mother's voice calling my name. The surgery had been a success. Dr. Harrison told me later that they had gotten to the gallbladder just in time. Another day or two and we would have been having a very different conversation. I was lucky to be alive. My parents stayed by my side the entire time. My father slept in the uncomfortable hospital chair. My mother brought me soup and made sure the nurses were taking good care of me. They never complained. They never made me feel like a burden. Megan did not come. On the day of Brittany's wedding, I lay in that hospital bed and watched the whole thing unfold on social media. Photo after photo of the extravagant ceremony. The $8,000 dress, the $5,000 worth of imported flowers, the $15,000 venue, the $12,000 catering. All of it paid for with money that was supposed to save my life. I saw pictures of Megan in her bridesmaid dress, standing next to her sister, beaming with pride. She looked so happy. She looked like she did not have a care in the world. Meanwhile, I was recovering from surgery. My parents were out $20,000 and my marriage was in ruins. That night, with my parents dozing in the chairs beside me, I made my move. I opened my laptop and typed in a search. Divorce attorney, Austin, Texas. The first name that came up was Marcus Webb. I called his office first thing the next morning. Marcus was a straight shooter. I liked him immediately. I told him everything from the joint savings account to the unauthorized transfers to Megan's refusal to come to the hospital. He listened carefully, taking notes. "Philip," he said when I finished, "what your wife did could constitute theft of marital assets. That emergency fund was joint property. She had no right to give it away without your consent, especially not to a third party for a non-emergency expense. We have a strong case here. Not just for divorce, but potentially for civil action against the sister as well. You mean I can sue Brittany? You can sue for recovery of the funds. She received stolen marital property. Whether she knew it was stolen or not, she benefited from it. The law is on your side. Over the next few days, Marcus and I built our case. I gave him everything. Bank statements, transaction histories, screenshots of text messages where Megan dismissed my surgery, medical records proving the emergency nature of my condition. Marcus drafted 2 documents, a petition for divorce, and a civil lawsuit against Brittany for receipt of misappropriated marital funds. 2 days after the wedding, Megan finally showed up at the hospital. She walked in carrying flowers and a box of pastries like everything was normal. Like she was just visiting a friend who had a minor procedure. "Hey babe," she said with a smile. "How are you feeling? The wedding was amazing." Brittany was so happy. You should have seen her face when she walked down the aisle. I did not smile back. I reached over to my bedside table and picked up the manila envelope Marcus had prepared. "You should probably sit down for this." She took the envelope, confusion on her face. She opened it and pulled out the papers. I watched her expression change as she read. Confusion became shock. Shock became disbelief. Disbelief became panic. "Philip, you cannot be serious." Her voice was shaking. "This is a divorce petition, and you are suing Brittany." "I am. It was just money. I was going to pay it back." "You are going to destroy my sister's new marriage over this." I looked at her. This woman I had loved for so long, and I felt nothing but exhaustion. "You chose her wedding over my life, Megan. When I was lying here, possibly dying, you were dancing at a party paid for with our money. You did not even answer my calls. You told me to wait for surgery so your sister could have her special day. I made a mistake," she cried. "Everyone makes mistakes. Think about our 7 years together." "I am thinking about them. That is exactly why I am doing this." The tears came then. She begged. She pleaded. She promised to change, promised to pay back every cent, promised to be a better wife. But I had heard enough promises. I asked her to leave. She called her parents. She called Brittany. The storm I had been preparing for was finally here. The legal process moved faster than I expected. My case was airtight. We had documentation for everything. Bank records showing the transfers, medical records proving my emergency, testimony from Dr. Harrison about the severity of my condition, text messages showing Megan's dismissive attitude. Brittany and Derek hired their own lawyer, but there was not much they could do. The money trail was clear. Brittany was ordered to repay $46,500 plus interest and legal fees. I heard through mutual friends that Derek was furious when he found out the truth. Apparently, Brittany had told him her parents paid for the wedding. Their marriage was on rocky ground before it even really started. My divorce from Megan was finalized 4 months later. Texas is a community property state, so everything was split down the middle. But the court also took into account the misappropriated funds. Megan was held responsible for her share of the stolen money. In the end, I walked away with a fair settlement and, more importantly, my freedom. The first few weeks after the divorce were harder than I expected. I moved into a small apartment on the east side of Austin. The first night there, I sat on the floor of my empty living room and just breathed. The silence was overwhelming. For 7 years, I had shared my space, my life, my future with someone, and now I was alone. I would wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes forgetting for a moment that everything had changed. I would roll over to say something to Megan, and there would be nothing but empty space. I would cook dinner and accidentally make too much, still programmed for 2 instead of 1. Those moments hurt more than I expected them to. But I want to be clear about something. I never regretted my decision, not for a single second. What I was grieving was not the marriage itself. I was grieving the person I thought she was, the woman I fell in love with at that backyard barbecue 9 years ago. Somewhere along the way, that woman had disappeared, or maybe she had never existed at all. The healing came slowly. I focused on my physical recovery first. The surgery had taken more out of me than I realized. I started walking every morning just around the block at first, then longer distances, as my strength returned. I changed my diet, cut out the junk food, started cooking real meals. My body responded. I felt better than I had in years. Work became my anchor. I threw myself into projects. volunteered for extra assignments, pushed myself to learn new skills. 6 months after the divorce, I got promoted. Senior software engineer. Better pay, better benefits, a fresh start. I opened a new savings account just in my name this time and started rebuilding my emergency fund. This time no one would have access to it but me. But the biggest change came from the people around me. During my marriage, I had let so many friendships fade. I was always too busy with Megan, always prioritizing her needs, her family, her schedule. After the divorce, I started reaching out to old friends. One of them was Jake, a guy from work I had always gotten along with but never really hung out with outside the office. Turns out he had gone through his own divorce a few years back. He understood what I was going through in a way no one else could. Jake and I started watching football together on Sundays. We would fire up the grill, crack open some beers, and just talk. About life, about loss, about moving forward. Those afternoons meant more to me than I can express. For the first time in years, I felt like I had real friends. People who were there for me not because of what I could do for them, but just because they cared. I also started seeing a therapist. Her name was Dr. Reyes, and she helped me understand patterns I had never recognized before. How I had always put my own needs last. How I had confused being accommodating with being loving. How I had ignored red flags because I was afraid of conflict. Philip, she told me one day, putting yourself last is not love. It is self-abandonment. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you cannot build a healthy relationship with someone who sees your cup as theirs to drain. That hit me hard. But it also set me free. A year after the divorce, I barely recognized my own life. I was healthy. I was financially stable. I had friends who actually showed up. I had learned to enjoy my own company, to find peace in solitude instead of loneliness. And I had finally stopped waiting for someone else to make me happy. Looking back now, I can see all the signs I missed. Megan had always put her family above me. Brittany had borrowed money before and never paid it back. Holidays were always spent with her side. Vacations were canceled because her family had plans. I had accepted it all, told myself that compromise was part of marriage. But it was never compromise. It was me giving and her taking. I learned something important from all of this. Love is not about sacrificing yourself until there is nothing left. It is about two people who protect each other, who build each other up, who would never dream of putting each other in harm's way. Having boundaries is not selfish. It is survival. And anyone who punishes you for having boundaries was never really on your team to begin with. Do I hate Megan? No, I do not. Hating her would mean she still has power over me. I have let go of the anger, the resentment, all of it. Not for her sake, but for mine. I wish her well, honestly. I hope she finds whatever she is looking for. But I know now that it cannot be at my expense. These days, I am taking things slow. I actually started going to yoga classes a few months ago, trying to stay healthy. That is where I met Hannah. She is kind and funny and has this way of making me feel calm just by being around her. We have been on a few dates, nothing serious yet. I am not rushing anything. I have learned the hard way that it is better to take your time and really see someone than to jump in and miss the warning signs. Someone once told me that the hardest prisons to escape are the ones we build for ourselves out of love for the wrong people. I spent 7 years in that prison, not even realizing the door was never locked. My wife told me I could wait while I needed surgery. She was right about one thing. I had been waiting. Waiting for years for her to love me the way I deserved. I stopped waiting. And that is when my real life finally began. If you are watching this, and something in your gut is telling you that something is wrong in your relationship, trust that feeling. Do not wait until you are lying in a hospital bed to realize your worth. Do not let anyone make you choose between your health and their convenience. You deserve someone who would never put you in that position in the first place. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever trusted someone who showed you through their actions that you were not a priority? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments below. And if this video resonated with you, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. If you are not subscribed yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button so you do not miss any future stories. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, share this video with them. Sometimes we all need a reminder that we deserve better. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of this community. I appreciate every single one of you. Take care of yourselves out there. Protect your peace. And remember, you are worth so much more than the way anyone has ever made you feel small. Until next time.